Sweet. We're getting into the main topic this week. Kind of almost a follow up. If you watched last week's episode, we were talking about what's the end game in collecting things you collect. Is there an end game? Do you just constantly get stuff in, regardless of how big your game room is or where you're going to put it? So, this is kind of the second part to that with downsizing the collection. It's so big, maybe a bunch of it's in storage. We're kind of going to get into a little bit of that. And I thought this would be great with Jay. If you guys know, Jay's been on the podcast for 2 years and you know his game room is in a closet.
That's right.
It's recently gotten smaller, his collection. I thought it'd be great for him to kind of chat about the reasons why, and we could all get into it.
Yeah. And at least two of you have been in my closet. So you guys know how absolutely small it is. And now that I'm missing one half of it, I had to get rid of some stuff. And
Mm.
I had to part with some items that I never thought I would part with. And I'm still seeing therapists about it. But I got rid of my I got rid of my
Ah,
big World Nintendo KB toy sign, which I'll never get
mhm.
another one of. Got a good penny for it, but it's just gone. It's gone forever, and it was immortalized, and the weekly warp pipe always behind me and on and shining bright.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
so basically, what happened was maybe a year ago, my wife's like, "Look, like I I know you love this room, but I need my side of the closet back. I'm sick of looking at my clothes out for the world to see in this room." Um, and she had been so gracious. I mean, I'd had both sides of the closet for maybe like 7, 8 years, and it was a while.
Oh,
And I
okay,
was like, "All
okay.
right." Yeah. So I was like, "All right, you can have your side back." But in doing so, when I started putting stuff back on my side, I learned real quick that some things had to go.
Yeah.
So one of the things I got rid of was the big Sharp NES TV, which was also really hard to do because that actually made it playing NES so easy because it was just plug it in, play,
Mhm.
and it seems like it should be that easy putting it in an NES, but it's not. For whatever reason, the TV just made it so easy. But I was also a little worried that at some point the screen might die on me, and I didn't know how to fix that. Um, and I didn't want to lose any money in my investment, so I got rid of that. But I guess all this to say, the main reason was because I ran out of 50% of my space was gone, so I had to
Right.
get rid of stuff. Um, that was one of them, the reasons. And then I think the other reason is like I used to work at the skate park, and there were these two affluent people that came in there all the time and were very wealthy. They owned an oil business, and one day the husband came in, and the husband was they were both the husband and the wife were obsessed with surfing, and they
Mhm.
had like tons of surfboards. And he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "My wife's got me going through my surfboards, like getting rid of." I'm getting rid of like 80% of them, and I'm keeping just like a couple that I ride all the time. He's like, uh, sometimes you don't own your possessions own you. And that kind of always stuck with me. And I kind of thought, like, yeah, like, do I really need all this stuff? And, and also, like, after coming in this room for the last 10 years, like, it just didn't uh, hit me like it used to. It's almost like
Mhm.
when people do this is not a I know this is a family show, but like people like do drugs, like the more they do the drugs, like the less effective they are.
Oh,
It
right,
was kinda
right.
like that. So, like, the dopamine wasn't hitting quite as hard, and, like, so some of the nostalgia rushes that I was getting in my early to mid-30s, I've seen this stuff for 10 years now. It hasn't been 30 years since I haven't seen it,
Right.
so it doesn't quite hit me the same way. So I was like, "Alright, I
Mm.
can get rid of some of this stuff," and I will say with for the most part, with the exception of the sign, I haven't really missed any of it, and I got rid of a lot of things. So yeah, that's kinda where I'm at right now.
Perfect. Sums it up
There's a lot of
right
word
there.
vomit, I'm sorry.
No,
That's
no,
fine.
it's great. I was formulating some questions for you, and they just kinda, like, they just flew out of my brain.
I can be long-winded, David, just tell me to shut up.
No, 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 it wasn't that at all, it was just my mentality. Um, I do have a question for you, though, about your collection. Is you you did
you have been downsizing,
Yes.
um, and you had mentioned, like, the collection owning you, um, or do you own the collection? Uh, just out of curiosity, um, well, let me ask you a question. As far as the nostalgia aspect of it, because I totally understand that. I've gone through phases here and there where, like, I'm not collecting, I am collecting. I'm kind of at a point where, like, I'm running out of room too, right?
Right.
And I'm not buying as much as I was prior. So my question to you, Jay, is did you still purchase things at a slower rate? Or did you all like last week we talked about the end game of collecting. So did you just stop collecting or did you slow down?
I haven't bought anything for this game room probably in over a year.
Okay.
Um, so I mean, like, I really just halted. And I'll go to like toy stores, like Toy Federation, and I'm sure at Southeast Game Exchange, I'm gonna see a bunch of stuff and be kind of like, oh, I want this. Um, but like, do I need it? And am I gonna be able to properly display it in this tiny little
Hmm.
room? Is it,
Okay.
or is it just gonna get thrown in the floor to where it's like I'm more annoyed with the fact that I have to get this out of I can't play my NES anymore, which is really what this all started as. Like, I just wanted to play Nintendo games that I hadn't played in years. And then the Nintendo Oddities thing hit, and then I was like, I want all these random things. And the interesting thing about my Nintendo Oddities dive was a lot of those things were things I didn't even own as a kid, but just
Hmm.
seeing them made me feel so happy. Like, oh, this Mario telephone's incredible. Like, this is so cool. But I never owned one as
Hmm.
a kid, so it wasn't like true nostalgia for something I used to
Right.
own.
Right.
Um, what was the question again? I have terrible ADD.
No, it's okay. I mean, the question is just basically like, did you do a slowdown of collecting, or
Oh,
did
yeah,
you
no,
just
I haven't
halt it altogether?
yeah, I haven't bought anything in forever.
Wow. And now, for not buying anything in a while, like, do you miss any aspect of that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I miss, the hunt, because I think the hunt's the fun part, right? Like, we never know what you're gonna find, so there's that, but, like, there's just so many other things I could spend my money on
Mhm.
and time on, and I did it for I mean, I did it for, like, 10 years, and, um, the other thing too is, like, now that I don't have my YouTube channel, uh, you know, I guess, being active,
Mhm.
I don't need content, so, like, I don't need to
Right.
go get stuff just to film, just to keep content going, and
Right.
I think also maybe, like, maybe there's just a contentness with what I have.
Okay.
Um, I think another reason people collect sometimes is and even me, like, my dad passed away in 1995, Thanksgiving Day, and I think a lot of me collecting some of this stuff was also just trying to keep his memory alive, like,
Mhm.
because when all this stuff was hitting hard was, like, my prime memories of him, So
Mhm.
it's almost, like, related back to my dad in a way, and, so, like, I don't really need this stuff to keep his memory alive, is part of it, and I had another point, but like I said, I have terrible ADD, so I get on these little, trails of thought and kind of forget what I was talking about, but,
No, it's okay.
um, yeah, I don't
I
know,
I I completely understand what you're saying because as you guys know, I lost my dad in November as well, right before Thanksgiving. And, yeah, I went through a phase of buying some stuff for the room and, I think when I really got back into Mad Balls, and it was just like all of this stuff that we had as a kid that I never really collected. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that, Jay. I mean, that's a real thing. I'm wearing my dad this is my dad's shirt.
that's so cool, by the way.
That's his race car with his name that our friend Tom Ryan designed this. And I'm wearing a Mets hat today because tomorrow is opening day, and well, by the time you're listening to it, opening day is past. But opening day was a big deal for me and my dad, so I figured it's opening day. I want to do that. So yeah, I think family comes is very important, and I think that's a really good thing to mention. Is like when you have that nostalgia. I mean, it stems from your childhood, right? Which is what
Yeah.
our parents gave us
Mhm.
growing up. So I
Yes.
mean, in a way, it's you know downsizing your collection is a way of kind of I don't know, it is a kind of form of moving on too and
Yeah.
growth. So
Yeah. I think the other thing I was trying to bring up that I kind of derailed on there for a minute was like I think people are have a void in their life, and sometimes that leads to collecting because you're like I know when I was trying to get all the NES games, I was like, "Oh, if I could just get Rockin' Cats, then I'd be happy." Or if I could just get Kickmaster, then I'd be happy. Or whatever the next like hidden gem was that I didn't have yet, you know.
mhm.
And every time I would add something new to the collection, uh, it was cool, but it wasn't true happiness, like, having all this stuff, like, Keith mentioned earlier when before the podcast, like, his house burnt down and he lost, like, everything, and so, like, I mean, all this stuff could that I think that was the other thing I was trying to prove to myself was, like, I don't need these things to be happy, I can be happy without possessions,
Okay.
because it's at the end of the day, it's just, like, gray plastic, so,
Tell that to Keith.
yeah,
Right? Full set over here. I agree. I've like Jay said, I lost all my childhood toys. Everything that I had, basically, other than a few items, were gone in a fire. So when I started collecting those items that meant something to me. I had one or two of those toys, and I can distinctly remember where I was playing with those toys, like these food fighter toys. I remember playing with those with my sister in the back of our acreage. So when I started collecting, I was like, I want that. And now I don't have a camera, apparently. Uh,
Christ.
so
Still got audio.
it's
We're
one of
good.
those days. So I totally agree, right? Like that those memories are there and that's why you want. But when I got to the point that like my space was full,
Mhm.
Mhm.
I
Right.
stopped collecting toys and then took some time away from collecting and then moved into Nintendo collecting. So that was a shift and then I kind of geared back into it, but I'm not sure about letting stuff go. I don't think I ever have other than losing it. So
Yeah.
downsizing
Okay.
for me will be
yeah,
hard for sure when the time comes.
Yeah.
right.
What about you, Russ? Have you ever downsized in any way? I mean, I know you just moved, so you have the new house and everything like that.
Right. So it's almost from necessity. So my original game room was at my mom's in the basement. So you have a full basement. It was like an L shaped, right? So like the L part was my bedroom, and then you got this long hallway type section with the game room. So I had a couch in there, bunch of games. I could keep my full collection out, good amount of toys, a lot of stuff on display. From there, when I met my wife, I moved into her condo, which was just a one bedroom condo. We eventually purchased the condo next to us and combined them together. So then I was able to take that bedroom and make that my game room and film my content in there. But you're going from a big basement to this small bedroom that's in a condo. Obviously, you
Right.
can't have all my stuff there. So I just brought the essentials. So a lot of my collection was just living in boxes. And if I want to film something, oh, I need this NES game. I got to go to mom's and dig it out and find that.
Right.
Like it
But I
kind of,
also remember you being at your mom's at the time, and you still had a lot of stuff boxed up, kind of like in storage that you did not
right.
have set up. I believe you had like bins of like Nintendo games and I think like advertisement and stuff like that.
Yeah, a few things around that were just probably ran out of room. Um,
Mhm.
we boxed everything up. So we moved into our house in January. We got the house in June, but we were remodeling for 6 months. There's a
Wow.
full YouTube series on my channel of us purchasing the house and then renovating. And now I am in basically we have a 3-car garage, and the space above that garage is now my new game room. So
Mhm.
significantly more bigger than mom's basement and way bigger than the bedroom I was just in.
Yeah.
Um, Now it's just defining the space. I'm kind of using furniture I had to fill
Mhm.
in stuff, but it's not fitting the space right. So possibly have to custom make furniture, right? To use up all the space. And again, I'm fighting against I have angled ceilings, so it's built almost like a barn or whatever.
Know
Yeah,
all
just
about
like
those.
Jay. So I can't do nice tall bookshelves against the wall. Like all I can maybe do is hang some posters up there. So again, having your certain space kind of dictates how big your collection can be and how much you can show off. So
Mhm.
kind of everything's in boxes right now, and I moved it into the spare bedroom, and I'm just kind of like, all right, does this furniture stay here? Do we like this over here? Then I could start bringing in the stuff and setting it up. And then we'll go from there with purchasing new stuff. Oh, hey, I got room over here. I could fit more. I could get this collection going. Let me get some toys. For the
Mhm.
life of me, you can see in the back of my camera here, there's a light like right here. Those are glass cases from IKEA. So I got one on each side of the windows back there. I cannot find the darn shelves that go in that.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
no.
And it was like one of the first things I brought over. So I
Yeah.
can't put all the things that go in those shelves. So they're all in separate, but I have like Transformers, that was one,
Mhm.
my Batman collection. I'm like, where are these shelves? So sucks
You'll
moving.
come
I'm gonna go
across them
through.
one day.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm like opening boxes. So I'm like, oh gosh, it's just frustrating for sure. But I do have a bin of just stuff that I know I don't need this anymore. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
either, bring it to a con,
Mhm.
giveaways, I don't know, something like that, like doubles, downsize with that. And I do believe, I mentioned this a few times before, I have gotten the SNES Classic and the NES Classic, and we modded them. So it has all the games on it, all the retro games I would want to play. So that kind of dialed me back in collecting physical cartridges for most of the games. I have a majority of what I wanted, and I'm like, I haven't picked up an NES game in quite some time. Other than I do love getting new NES games, like games that are programmed today, like new,
Like
not like
Cabbage Patch Kids or whatever it
Cabbage
was.
Patch Kids
Garbage Pail
came out.
Kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Rugrats.
Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rugrats, Haunted Halloween '86 is coming out, so I got that on
Mhm.
purchase. Like that's cool because can't get that,
Right.
and I like the physical stuff. But yeah,
For me, it's a little tough though because I also do a little reselling as well. So I'm going to the flea markets and I'm selling on Whatnot and eBay and cons and shows. I'm actually doing a show in April um, around here, and I'm starting to like kind of gather the things that I'm going to be selling. And honestly, I just and I had the same a little similar situation with Jay is in the corner over there. You can't see it on screen here, but in the corner over there, I had one of those like tall cube shelves, the ones that are like a single cube, but it's like 5 high. And
Right.
I recently had to take that out because I've been looking for one for a very long time. I just picked up a magazine rack, and it's one of those spinning magazine racks. And
Oh,
I've
cool.
always wanted one of those spinning magazine racks to display like my some of my comic books and Nintendo powers.
Yeah.
And our buddy Tom Ryan, he came through last week where he found a Facebook Marketplace and one was selling it for like $50. And this one easily goes probably well over 200. The downside is it's a little tall. It's over 6 feet tall, and my
Oh
ceiling is
wow.
not that tall, so I can't put the top part on. But
oh,
that
okay.
shelf that I took out, I had to take out, put in storage over there, and then the stuff that was on that shelf, I had to kind of finagle it on this shelf over here, which I ended up losing a full cube of vinyl records. So I have a whole box over there that I actually went through all of my vinyl records, and I'm gonna take them somewhere to sell. So
Yeah.
a little bit of downsizing in that aspect. So, I find myself starting a little bit of downsizing because I just don't have room. It's busy, and also my focus of collecting has kind of shifted a little bit.
Right.
Um, and we'll see where things go in the future. So
But Jay, you were always
Yeah.
like when you started your collection, you were buying games to buy games? Are you buying stuff to sell to add funds to buy
Yeah,
more
so
games, right?
I always make the joke with Aaron Stapish, and he used to always be like retro sell or resellers were a bad thing, and like I never really backed that program, and I kind of regret not like showing my process because in essence that's what Retro Rick did. Because I would
Hmm.
just go buy things. Okay, let's say I bought a tote full of games at a yard
Yeah.
sale. I'd be like, I want this game, this game, this game. I don't care about these things. Like maybe that's N64 and it doesn't really mean anything to me. Sell the N64 stuff, and then I would make back, let's say I paid $75 for everything. I would sell the N64 and the games for $100. I would keep the things I want for free and make $25, which I would put towards the next thing. Exactly how Rick did it. So like
Yeah.
everything I really built up, I mean, plus I got crazy deals on stuff I shouldn't have got crazy deals on, like that sign
Hmm.
I paid $50 for that, and it's like
It's
a
crazy.
$7,000 sign.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So like I mean like this game room is like I built it for free, um but yeah, honestly originally uh I started collecting NES stuff probably in 20 or late 2013 early 2014, but in the mid 2000s I went through this with Transformers. I was at my friend Ryan's house and he had these Rhino DVDs for Transformers. I was like, oh my god, I haven't seen this since like 1985. And I went to this phase where I bought like every G1 Transformer I could get my hands on. And that was probably like oh 05, oh 06. And then I started buying Ninja Turtles mint on card because at that point you could get them for like $10 a pop. Like I regret selling those. And then in 2010 or 11, whenever I met Haley, I was like, you know what? I don't need it. These Transformers been sitting in totes for the last 5, 6 years. All these Ninja
Hmm.
Turtles, I've never been able to properly display them. I sold them all and bought a big screen TV. So I've already told my, proven to myself I could get rid of things, and
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Now,
Do you
so
as
miss
someone that
anything?
was
I wish I still had my Michelangelo mint on card with the fan flyer behind it that I sold for $50 because Sean tells me from Retro Reminiscence that it's like $1,000 toy now.
Wow.
so as someone that was buying and selling stuff, when it came time that you
Yes.
started to downsize here, when you got half your closet was back to the wife, is there something that was like the Band-Aid that was like, "This hurts to pull off," that was maybe other than the KB sign, or was it
Oh, it
that
was
was the
definitely
Band-Aid that hurt, right?
no, the band ripping off the Band-Aid was the NES Sharp TV when I sold that, and I was like, "If I can sell the Sharp, I can sell anything." So
Yeah.
then I got rid of both my toy boxes because I had 2 Nintendo toy boxes, the variant with Mario 3 and the one without, and I loved that toy box, like, I thought they were the greatest things ever with Zelda on the side. I sold my phone. I sold my whole bed set because I had the sheets, I had the comforter, I had the pillowcases.
Wow.
I sold
The cart,
folders.
the little cart that you put the
Oh,
TV on.
I had 2 different carts. I sold the big one and the little one, and I mean, these were all Nintendo oddities from my series that, like, honest to God, never thought I would part with ever. And, like,
Yeah.
I've gotten rid of almost all of it so far. I mean, I have a few things on the wall. I have the TV tray up there. Um, but
But
it wasn't gonna fit in. What's
Right.
that?
once that Band-Aid came off, it was easier
Yeah,
to
it
The
was
downsize?
much
floodgates.
easier. Yeah, it was kinda like I was like, "Okay, if I can get rid of this TV, I can get rid of anything." So, like, the one thing I really didn't think I was gonna get rid of was that sign, but, need to pay some bills, and it took up a huge portion here to the side of me,
Yeah.
and I was like, "You know what? It's just a sign." Like, the memories are in my head, I have a picture. I don't know if I can reach it. Let's see.
While Jay's doing that, real quick, the one thing that he talks about ripping off a Band-Aid is I'm selling a few of my cameras just from my, that I don't shoot with as much. And I just sold one on eBay, and it's a camera like I enjoyed, but I wasn't really too attached to it. But as soon as I sold it, I had no regrets. I was like, I enjoyed the fact that I was able to make some money off of that. So,
Yeah,
that felt good to kind of, like, take care of the family, and
yeah,
I'm not gonna miss that camera. I really
right.
won't.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
That's a good
here's a
picture.
picture. Here's a picture of me and my uncle at KB Toys. It says the video game headquarters in the background. Probably somewhere in that room is a sign very similar to what I had. And in this bag is an Ewok that I bought that day. I remember specifically. So I mean, the memories are here, and I got a
Yeah,
picture of KB Toys, me standing in front of it in probably like 1987 or whatever year that was.
for
And
sure.
it's just a sign. It's just a metal sign with fiber optics that somebody built 40
Yeah,
years ago. You know,
right.
it just happens to have a really cool name on it.
Yeah.
But I would say like the end game. I'm assuming. I mean, because that's the main title of the show is like it's probably different for everybody. You know, and it may ebb and flow. You know, so
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
it probably never change, always changing, never ending.
Mm.
Right. I mean, we brought up a few points of why you would need to downsize, right? The dictation of your game room, or maybe you're not feeling that nostalgia love for that item anymore. So maybe you sell off some of that to then purchase toys or something else, and you kind of shift your focus to that for sure.
Or maybe you just got to pay some bills. You know,
That is true.
Right.
That's probably, I would
Happens.
say that's probably the number one answer, right? To downsizing the collection would be maybe medical bills come up, house bills, something like that with you're
get out of
not
debt. You
expect
know.
it. And probably the quickest way to get some cash would be to sell some of your collection.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, not that the monetary value of this stuff makes me like it more or less, you know. It's not like, "Ooh, this thing's worth $3,000. I love it the most." But like there's also something to be said about striking when the iron's hot, and while some of this
Mm.
stuff still has value in the marketplace, unload some of it now, you know, cuz
Yeah.
what if you wait what if you wait 10 more years and it's like nobody cares about NES anymore because the only people that are going to care about it is us. My
Yeah.
kid isn't going to pay $3,000 for some rare, you know, I don't know, Princess Tomato or whatever. I have no idea what the game's even
They'll be
worth, but you
buying
know what
all
I
the
mean? Like,
GameCube stuff, right? They're not going to care about Nintendo.
Right.
well, yeah, I
Right.
mean, my son will be like buying Switch stuff. Like, oh man, remember when
Exactly.
Switch games were
Right.
physical? And you could
Yeah.
lick them and they tasted terrible.
Yeah.
Remember
Now I just
Joy-Con
download
drift?
it into my brain. You know, I don't know.
Nice. You guys got any other facts about or tips
No.
about downsizing?
We get any voicemails or anything
Just
on that
do
one?
it.
Yeah, we
Think we
might have
did.
had some voicemails about this topic here, so we could get into that. If you guys do want to leave us a voicemail, we do have our phone number, which is 949-682-9277. 949-682 warp. Leave us a
Did I leave
voicemail.
a voicemail this time?
Jay didn't call. I figured because he was going to be on. Imagine you called still.
That'd be hilarious.
Nice. Let's get these voicemails going.
I keep dreaming, dreaming about my dream phone.
It's for you.
Hey guys, this is Colby from Persian Splurge Drifting. Downsize my collection?
Yeah.
Ah! Yeah, I've thought about it. Over the years, I've definitely thought maybe I could condense it down, consolidate. But I think the big thing for me is I may have a lot of remorse if I got rid of the stuff that meant something to me and wasn't able to get it back. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, again, maybe some of the sentimental stuff or something that holds that value. You don't want to sell
Yeah.
it. And
I mean,
Oh,
the
wait a
one
minute.
thing
I have
know
a question. I have a question about this. Wait, his name is Purge and Splurge. Is that correct?
he doesn't
yes,
purge though.
yes.
So
He just splurges.
downsizing. So he doesn't purge. He just
He just
splurges.
splurge.
Great
Maybe he
Just
splurge.
purges on
splurging.
things that he doesn't care about. Like,
Well, so he does have a like a booth at one of those flea market things inside that you
Yeah.
can purchase stuff. So he's just purging all the stuff he doesn't want maybe to there, and then splurging on
There
the
you
things
go.
he wants to add to his collection.
there you go.
So he's downsizing and then adding back.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah.
He's
Upgrading.
downsizing and upsizing.
He's upgrading. He's upgrading. That's what it is. He's upgrading.
That's a way to look at it.
Yes.
He's like the
Perfect.
tide, comes in, goes out.
We got one more here.
I think so.
Hey, Weekly War Pipe. It's Killer Carp, your loyal Instagram follower, calling again. Man, you guys are asking some really challenging and deep questions. Downsizing my collection. In some respects, I'm actively doing that, but I would like to think of it more as consolidating. I feel like the more serious you get about collecting as time goes on, the more you have this need to want to refine your collection, quality over quantity. But having said that, I personally have a finite amount of space in my toy room, and I don't have an endless supply of disposable income to spend on retro toys and video games. So at times, selling a certain piece or going through my toy room and identifying certain pieces that are no longer a priority for me, that just becomes a necessity.
Mhm.
So yes, I am downsizing, but I am fortunate enough to be in a position where I'm not forced to completely downsize or liquidate.
Right.
So yeah, when I let go of items, it's really to consolidate space and to try to improve the overall quality of my game/toy room, if that makes sense. I'm rambling, but yeah, this is one of those really difficult existential questions, and I'm just one of those super nostalgic people who've always just assumed that someday I'd be that 87-year-old grandpa who's still playing Contra on the NES. So
Hopefully you
yeah,
Right.
hopefully that makes sense and is on topic, but love to hear your thoughts and where you guys stand.
I would love to ask. I may send him a message. I may call him. He has. I know you guys don't know him personally, but we've hung out quite a few times, and he has, I think, a complete collection of battle beasts. So I might have to ask him if he ever has to sell off his collection of battle beasts, because
I
that
mean,
would
I feel like
hurt.
that don't take up a lot of room though. They're small.
Oh, it does.
Very-
I know they're
Oh, it does?
small, but there's a lot.
Oh,
There's
okay.
like
Yeah.
200
There's
something, I think. I don't know.
3
But
series to it or something. Yeah.
he's got
And then
like different
there's
variants, and
Oh,
he's got like all of the like, what is it? Like the advertising, and like I'm talking like this is probably the biggest Battle Beast
collection.
collection
Wow.
you'll ever
Love to
see.
see it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
When you
crazy.
move into like the laser beasts, it gets even crazier.
with like
So
the
like
round
the round with those
logos.
globes in the center that you like look
Yeah.
through or whatever to give the
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then like he's saying, upgrading and refining that collection, you start to get
Yeah.
doing that, especially if it's like battle beasts and stuff, like even just the rub symbols on the
Right.
front, wear and
And
tear on their
and like
feet,
my question
hands.
is, like, does this battle beast come in the wood, fire, and the water? Like, can you find them in with different rub tabs, or do they always have the same
I think they
ones?
do. I think they are different.
I feel like
So
they're
do you
just
need 3 of
random
every one?
stickers, right?
Do you
Probably.
need 3 of every one to have them all?
Yeah. Well, he's just gonna have to purge and splurge.
I gotta have Blitzkrieg bat with wood, fire, and water.
Right?
I dig it.
Yeah.
Question.
That too, right?
well, I-
Like
What's that?
even the Pixel Game Squad guys, they went from collecting the full Nintendo set and now they're looking at getting them all in box, right? So like you do
Right.
Yeah,
have to find your collection
it's a
as you
slippery slope.
grow too, right? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I ain't going down that road.
No.
Well, hopefully you
So
guys got some, let's say, some tips possibly or insight of downsizing a collection. Not necessarily purging it all out, but maybe redefining it or focusing more in on something and maybe getting rid of filler or
Splurging back.
splurging back.